Yeah, it should be very exciting. A lot of cars.
So, I guess in that case, what? So they're all going to be out there together.
Yeah. We are close enough on our rules that we feel like that we can run them together for the same purse at the same time and run one heck of a show.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the more cars, the better. I mean, that makes for so you could actually win. You could actually be second or third and still be a winner.
Yeah, that's true. You could.
Wow. Interesting. Cool stuff there. Wow. So, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that tri-track series? I mean, is it in the right direction?
It seems like it is. They had averaged close to 20 cars, I believe, last year at each race, and that's what you're looking for is car count and competitive racing. They had, I believe, 8 different winners in 9 races. So when you're fielding, races with 20-plus cars on a consistent basis and you can produce a different winner every single time, I would say you're probably going in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, and shoot. And Garrett, of all people, should know. He's been around to see kind of what works and, what doesn't. But do you think running that show is a conflict of interest for him at all?
Garrett's a friend of mine, so
right.
So I should probably be.
He's
careful,
my hero, but I mean,
I have nothing but respect for Garrett. It might be a little bit of a conflict of interest, but Garrett's a racer. He loves to race, and he's going to go out there and do whatever he has to do to win races.
Absolutely,
and more power to him.
Hey, I mean, and he's still got to follow the rules like everybody else. So yes. I don't know how that could be a difference, but so. So what about like the K&N series? You have one big event there, right?
Yeah, we run the K&N Pro Series West cars in the middle of August. 150 laps on the 5/8 for them as well.
Awesome, and I hear they're going to Boise too. I don't know. Is that Meridian? Is that what that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that that's a shot in the arm for them? I'm sure, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Big market.
So now, has that series? Is it still? I mean, it's changed a little bit over the years, a little bit, hasn't it? I mean, I don't know. It used to be they were a lot like the Cup cars, so to speak, but
they've gone a little bit away from that. It's still insanely expensive, but it's their attempt to bridge the gap between short track racing and Cup cars and give drivers a little more experience in heavier cars. That are more akin to Cup cars. And so these up-and-coming guys have a shot at racing cars that are more like what they're hoping to make a career out of.
Yeah. And by, say, insanely expensive, what's the biggest I mean, if you're running a super late model and a K&N, I mean, where's the insanely come in at?
Well, insanely comes in well before super late model levels, at least in my opinion. It's all very, very expensive. But K&N West cars can be upwards of $1 million to run a fully functioning competitive team. So it's not for your average Saturday night hobby racer.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, because it's nothing like I don't know. I guess I'm kind of torn. I mean, my honest opinion, if I'm being honest, I love Roundy Round. I always have, always will. But in my opinion, like the Cup now, you could have it. I could care less. I mean, the first 4 and the last 20, that's how it is, and they're too long. I mean, my personal opinion is if they ran out the little guy because they went to all these big tracks and they kind of forgot where they came from and they quit supporting these, smaller tracks that basically put them on the map. So rather than let them all dry up and go away, they should have, tried to schedule some stuff there. I mean, you're not going to save all of them, but
no, I tend to agree with that. And they've become further and further apart. Cup racing and Pro Series West racing, where it used to have a lot of similarities, is less and less similar to short tracks. And I'm a short track guy. I mean, that's where my heart is. I want to see short track racing do better. What goes on in Cup, I guess I care about it, but I care a lot more about what goes on the short tracks.
Amen. I mean, give me half mile, 5/8, any day of the week. I mean, it just to me, it's better racing. I mean, mile and a half, 2 mile. I mean, granted they're hauling, but I mean, it's no wheel to wheel. You know what I mean? It's just it's that banging wheel to wheel stuff that gets people excited.
Yeah, I'm a bigger fan of the Chili Bowl and 300 cars in the pits and 40 flips in 5 days. It's just more exciting to me.
Absolutely, and you're getting door to door. Coming to the stripe, you don't know who got it just by I mean. That's why I say in karting. I mean, if you're a race fan and you're not going, I mean, dollar for dollar, you see better racing. Karting than you almost do in the car stuff because you got people all there. But wow, well that's interesting. So what big changes around here in the Northwest can race fans look forward to in 2015? Are there any?
I don't know that there's any big changes. We just keep trying to grow it. 5-6 years ago, late model racing and short track racing was kind of on its knees in the Northwest. And it's getting better. Car counts have gone from single digits to in the 20s to we had over 50 at Summer Showdown last year. At Kern County here in a few weeks, they're going to have probably 75 cars, if not more, for Winter Showdown. So it's getting better. At Dirt Cup, they're changing it over from a 410 show to an ASCS race, which should attract more cars. And so I think things are really on the upswing.
Wow. That's really cool. Now, that Kern County, is it new?
Yeah, Kern County basically replaced the old Mesa Marin Raceway. So they've been in operation for a couple of years, and this year they're going to run a $25,000 to win super late model race at the end of February.
Wow. So now, and I was reading online there that somebody back east stepped up, and man, it was like a 30-grand purse for a street stock division, and it was like $5,000 to win, and then if you won it, you got $10,000, and I'm thinking, man, that's a shot in the arm of course, those are a far cry probably from the street stocks that we used to watch at Portland and whatever, but
yeah, the street stocks of today are more like late models were in the early 80s. So they've stepped up their game. And so, it's nice to see some promoters putting up some purses that are consistent with the types of cars they're putting on the track.
Well, and doesn't that kind of go kind of hand in hand? I mean, if your thing's on your knees, is it all the racer's fault? I don't know that it is. Really, is it? Or
I don't think it's the racer's fault. It's just it's just the nature of life. Things evolve. Cars are getting harder to get. They're getting more expensive. So street stock type racing is getting harder and harder to do. It takes more of a dedicated type person rather than a hobbyist to compete even on a street stock level.
Yeah, for sure that way. And so talking the late model deal and all that stuff. I mean, I've always said, and I know it's happened a lot. Like if you probably don't as much, but the Rotax stuff, they brought in this class, and it was supposed to be it was supposed to level the playing field, so to speak. I don't think it's done that because there again, I mean we're talking racing is the haves and the have-nots. Always has been, I think, and I don't think there's any way you're going to change that. The guy that can afford brand new set of spec tires is going to be faster than the guy that's got to run 4 or 5 race set. So. And then, the Rotax deal was they sealed motors, all this stuff, but guys were going out and buying 55 barrels, flowing them, finding out which barrels were good, keeping those and, kicking the rest out. And so I always say, and they don't really listen to the racer, like I go to these meetings and they're bitching about what tire they want to be on. And it's like all the racers want this tire, but so-and-so, the club where they want this tire because, the tire manufacturer is going to kick in a little something. At the end of the day, it isn't really very much. But, I mean, how important is it that you listen to the what the racer wants?
Well, I mean, the racers are, from the racetrack management standpoint, the racers are your first and best customer. They're the ones that are there every week. They're the ones putting on the show for your other customers. So without them, you're dead in the water. But sometimes they can be their own worst enemy too. And I can say this, when I was racing, I would lobby for things that would benefit me the most or that made the most sense to me. Well, now that I'm on the management side, I get to see that it's not just one guy and one idea. It's 30 guys with 30 ideas, and a lot of times they conflict. And sometimes everybody has a good and valid point. And so you have to take in all that information, try to sift through it, and try to figure out what's going to be the best for everybody and the long-term health of the sport.
Wow. So, and I guess I look at that and I hear you say that, and I guess it is true. And that's the $64 million question anyway, right there.
Oh, absolutely. As a racetrack, we take a look at tire deals, but just because, we're going to get a sponsorship or make a few extra bucks on this tire doesn't mean it's going to be good for everybody in the future. We need to make sure that the long-term health is maintained.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. See, and those of you just tuning in, we got the Director of Competition, Chris Cunningham from Evergreen Speedway in the house. And, boy, I hope you guys are listening to this because, you're actually getting information you probably don't hear, a whole lot. And it's so maybe it'll help the next time you go to a racetrack, you'll be able to understand just a little bit about what's going on, because he's been both a racer and now he's on the management side. So do you ever look at the rules and go, man, this rule stinks, it needs to go? And
oh yeah, absolutely. And at that point, you start making phone calls and try to talk to other people that have a similar rule, try to get the thinking behind it, try to understand how you arrived at this particular situation that doesn't seem to make any sense. And then sometimes after a few days or months or even a year of conversation, it starts to make sense. And you figure out, oh, okay, this actually does make sense. This is why they did it. So
sometimes it takes a little time to really see the benefit, I guess, or the outcome. I guess do you ever have to check yourself and go, oh, no, that's the Chris Cunningham, the racer, not the Director of Competition?
Oh, all the time. All the time.
I'll bet that would be kind of hard.
All the time. The hardest part is when somebody's yelling at me for something that they don't agree with, and I happen to agree with them, but for the business side, for the long-term health, or for what's fair to everybody, it has to be a different way. And so it's tough to stand there and argue with somebody when you happen to agree with them, but the decision has to go a different direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on, Chris. You're a racer. You know what I'm talking about. What are you doing? Yeah. So no big changes coming up for 2015. How about 14? Was your year solid?
Oh, yeah, it was a great year. We saw, again, steady increases in car counts, a lot more fans, a lot more sponsorship, and just a lot more opportunity for everybody involved. It was a lot more fun, a better atmosphere at the racetrack. Just all around, racing seemed to be getting better for not just us, but for a lot of the racetracks.
So I know for me, when I used to go, before I knew nothing, and I look back on it now, and I say, so much of kind of the procedure, I guess how the race day goes, the format of it is it's pretty crucial. I think if you're a roundy round person and you've been going for a long time, you remember, you had the qualifying and you had the dashes and heats and all that stuff, and then the main guys were your feature thing. There was some talk about some of them running the big show like early, and then running the undercard or whatever you want to call it, after the fact. Because they were wanting people to, get in. Is that a good idea?
It just depends upon the program. Ideally, you run your biggest show last, and you give the fans an entertainment for the whole way through. It's kind of anticlimactic when you run your biggest show early and write the big check, and then you have some support divisions or something else running after that. It's a little bit anticlimactic. However, it depends again on the show and what you're trying to accomplish and what you have for the fans and how long they've been there. Some of these races can drag on for, hours and hours and hours when mom and dad want to get the kids to bed. They've been there for 4 or 5 hours, and that's plenty.
Right. It's I don't know that I agree. I know that it used to be a big deal for me. I remember, I'd be up there and with 10 to go, I'd move down to maybe row 3 because I wanted to actually feel that speed when they rip by the start finish. And then the other reason was I wanted to be close to the gate, so I was first in line to get out there.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'd get out. So when you do that now, now they open it up. I think at Garrett's place they had it where they opened it up for like a half an hour, and everybody could mingle out there and see their favorite. And they had